Dead in Hip Hop Conversations. There was this clip floating on Twitter today, and we're going to talk about it. It was Tyler, the Creator, talking to Elliot Wilson and B-Dot and Rap Radar. And then Tyler had a very strong reaction to List and Rap Twitter and performative Twitter and performative hip hop fans. So we're going to talk about what he said and weigh in on it.
I feel like we've been doing that for the past. We talk about our top fives, our top tens. You know what I'm saying? So,
what's wrong with that?
It's nothing wrong with that. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So if Tyler's listening to us, he would know that there are outlets out there that actually talk about their personal top fives, their personal top tens.
Yeah.
Like we really don't give a shit what other people top fives, top tens or whatever are. So he did specify Twitter. You know what I'm saying? These days I don't know what that necessarily mean. What is Twitter? Like I don't know because everybody's on Twitter. But no, I think that's really interesting. And I agree with it to a certain degree. Sometimes I feel like lists are cool just to kind of have out there and just to kind of debate about it.
And
you know what I'm saying? Because that's what hip hop has always been. Who's greater? Who's better? Like that's always been a thing. Sorry if the kids don't go by that same thing, but that's what we were brought up on. We were brought on like who's the best. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always been a competition. Hip hop has always been a competition, and I feel like someone like him who's been what I would assume is a student of the game should know that. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe he's only talking about the kids. I don't know. But even if you are a kid, you still got to do your homework. In my opinion, I think you still got to do your homework. I still think you got to pay respect to the ones who came before you that paved the way. So they should be acknowledged. If you don't acknowledge them, they just kind of get buried. You know what I'm saying? And you never ever talk about them. If you're currently talking about what's trending or who you like now, I just feel like eventually the greats or what we call the greats will just kind of be forgotten. So I think it's important to talk about, certain lists and certain top fives, top 10. Maybe we can break it down a little bit, by eras or something like that. But I think it's still very important to, whether you were born or not before that artist dropped music, I think it's still important to acknowledge how they move the culture, what they influence. That's why when we do the classic reviews, I think those are important because, it's probably somebody that we like that paved the way for him. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure it's people that he can reference back. And it's like, oh yeah, this is my inspiration. People around him, they're like, this is my inspiration. So that's why you got to talk about these people, and that's why some people put them in their top five. So I think it's a little bit of context that needs to be there with what he's saying to a certain degree. But I get what he's saying. I just think he needs a little bit more context on what he's actually trying to convey. So
you know what, Rod? I agree with you with this, right? Like I feel that hip hop definitely needs to be revered. People like I don't like the stigma or like just a blanket statement like you need to do your research or you need to do your homework, right? Because like Vince Staples is very opposed to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I'm gonna just listen to what I want to listen to. And for me, I think it's just as an OG now or an older brother way back, 20 years ago, I always felt like it was my job to tell my brothers or put my brothers onto what was dope at that time. Now, it may not be one of their top albums, but now when they're talking to an OG and they'd be like, hey, you listen to the Chronic? Yeah, I know the Chronic. Yeah, I know Reasonable Doubt. Yeah, I know this. It's not my favorite, but I can talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I feel like we lost our way with hip hop, at a certain point in time. I think even now where the OGs aren't necessarily talking to the youngins and putting them on. You know what I'm saying? Like we lost that. I think we lost that with like the internet age and a whole bunch of other stuff that I don't necessarily want to get into. But what he's saying, I agree with like both sides of it. I agree with both sides. Because who does give a fuck? Right? Like in the grand scheme of this shit, who gives a fuck? Put out dope music. I get that. But I also feel, at the same time, the other side of it is like, people do give a fuck. People still want to have those barbershop conversations and people want to debate, what I like versus what you like, especially if we have a variance of opinion and we come from the same hood or the same place or a same socioeconomic status. Like, how do you not like this person if I like this person when we have so many similarities? Right. Or, damn, I didn't even know about that person and now you put me on. Like, to me, hip hop has always been a conversation. And these lists, some people can be clickbaity. You know what I'm saying? And we dove into some of those lists that were clickbaity. Yeah. But, you know, it's part of our job in terms of our platform to kind of dissect and be like, oh, well, this isn't, and, you know, give our own personal opinion on it. But at the end of the day,
and we use that as an opportunity to put on people that
100%
could be there or
should be there or this, that, and the third.
People watch our list because they want to get put on.
Yeah. Exactly. You know so I think it's to a degree still important, but I also feel that there are a lot of platforms that misuse it.
You can do it both ways. Here are my personal and here's my objective.
Yes.
If they wanted to, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that I am the guy that will look at a person's personal top 5 and be like, man, what are you crazy? But I also, to his point, taking this as an opportunity to be like, but why is that? Like, when 3P Set used to record here and they used to talk about Future all this time and I'll still be shitting on Future. And they're like, Kim, but you don't understand it. But it's just like, but I get there's a curiosity that comes with it. It's like, what am I missing? What am I not understanding? Even though I don't have to like it, but it can help me objectively do my job when it comes to some of those projects. Because I am the old man, you know, yelling, get off my lawn. That's what I do. That's me. I'm not going to ever let that go. To your point, Rod, I agree with you. I think we do need to have those quote unquote objective lists. And what I feel like those lists do is they help show a transition.
Yes, absolutely.
Of these newer artists. We finally got somebody to come in and their shit is so fucking dope that these top 5 that we've been holding on to, it's over.
Shaking up.
Yeah, it's kind of like we were having a semi-conversation about this. At what point, when do we let them go? When does Biggie, Pac, and whoever else,
Jay-Z, whatever,
like how long are they going to be in the top 5 when you have these new breed of rappers coming along? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, because I think I want to say one of them mentioned Sonny or Jalen, or we was either having a conversation talking about like almost kind of like when we gonna kind of start looking for the next big 3 besides Kendrick, Drake, and J. Cole. And I can't remember. It was either we were just having like this.
It was off the Rory conversation.
Yep. Okay, and it was just like, I think that's what it was. It was like, okay, it's the same thing. It's like about the Tupac and Biggie. It's like, okay, so what's gonna be the next J. Cole, the next Kendrick? Like, who's gonna be those next superstars that people can put in their top 3 or put in their top 5 or whatever, anything like that. I think it's always good for healthy conversation. I'm always up for, you know, for like Rod said, hip hop is always it's been like a competitive sport, at least from how we was coming up. Like we was always arguing the Kanes, the Coogee Raps to the Nas, Biggies, and to the Eminems, 50 Cent, like Lil Wayne's, the T.I. Like it was always like that, having that argument. Like, no, I think he the best nigga right now. I think he the best dude right now. Like
it's literally the origin of Dead in Hip Hop. It's a debate show. We debate about hip hop. We debate about like what you like, what I don't like, or you know, nah, that shit whack. Like that's just how we talk about music. I mean, well, not even about music, but hip hop specifically. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like the only genre you can fucking have,
be
like,
competitive.
You know what I'm saying? Be competitive and have heated debates about.
Yes.
You know, you could kind of do that with some soul artists sometimes, but it ain't gonna get that heated like hip hop.
No.
So, you know, nah, man, I think it's still a give a fuck to it. You know what I'm saying? I think the give a fuck is necessary. I think the give a fuck is why people still care about hip hop, because people are so attached to it. People are so emotional about it. If people didn't give a fuck, they wouldn't be as emotional about it.
Exactly.
And it wouldn't live on like how it has been living on.
It's because it's the most scrutinized and most influential genre of music. Like it literally moves culture.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like
sure.
movies are inspired by it. You know, TV shows are inspired by it. Like everything that is popular culture in America, which is in turn popular culture for worldwide, is inspired by hip hop. So that's the reason why there is such a debate. That's the reason why there is give a fuck. And the reason why we have to have objectionalists and personalists and all of this type of stuff. It's all bred into what hip hop is, and without it, what is it?
You said that this is what we do every year, and we get flack for it. Like, and we when we tell people up front,
it's our personal.
This is what I've been listening to. And these are blah 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 blah. It doesn't matter because this is just what the genre is. And you know, I think just looking at this generation that's behind, there's this sense of identity, personal identity that it feels like they want to have. And it's almost like Tyler is sort of pushing for that. It's like, why fall into the, and I hate this word, I feel like it's overused, but I'll say it anyway because people get it, toxic. Why fall into these toxic type discussions about this shit that at the end of the day really don't matter? But it's also about context and framing as well. We can say Cole, Kendrick, and whoever else runs the game right now. We can also say that
his name.
We can also say that they're my favorite. Some of those are not my favorite artists. These are my top 3 that I like. And that's why also, Rod, is people always say, man, what's your top 5 right now? Because sometimes people just want to know.
It's less about the conversation itself, but more so about people not actually being genuine with those lists because they want to be seen a certain way.
Yeah, Sonny's kind of right, and he as well. People feel pressure to say those artists. Like if you don't say those artists, you don't know hip hop.
Yeah, I wouldn't trip. I wouldn't trip if your 5 is different from my 5 because for one, the age gap. I'm like,
what if Vanilla Ice was in it?
Like, I'm just playing. I'd be like, well, damn, you fuck with Vanilla Ice like that? Like, I wouldn't trip. Like, the only time I would probably like kind of question is like if it was like y'all listen, I'd be like, damn, you listen to what? Like, but because it's like RA, I'm like, no, I wouldn't expect you to listen to that. But if someone's younger, name, Lil Wayne, T.I., and someone else as their 3 all-time dead or alive, I'd be like, okay, I get it, because he grew up in that era. He grew up, listening to that. Probably it takes him back to a time in middle school or elementary or whatever. So I get it. I'm not gonna argue with that. But yeah, people around my age, I'd probably be like, damn. Like if they name someone, I'm like, you fuck with that. Like I do that with some of my homies in Detroit all the time. They certain stuff they listen to, I'm like, nigga, why are you listening to that? So, but yeah, it's.
See, you part of the problem.
When it's our age, when it's people our age, I'll be like, bro.
They know better, right?
Yes, that's what it is. That's what it is. When it's someone younger, I'm like, okay, I don't argue that.
You still with my ideas.
Or even okay, I know Tyler said in the video when someone say a Biggie or Illmatic, maybe the 16-year-old kid had an older cousin that probably put him up on that stuff and was like, yo, I really do dig this album more so than I like a Lil Wayne album. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? That can happen sometimes too.
Yeah, I think age does play a factor in a lot of what people, and then I think, for us doing it as long, we get people that recognize us and, they want to chop it up when they see us in the street and shit. And, sometimes they'll ask me, hey, what's your top? Like, now I gotta, hey, all time.
In public?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, don't be asking me that shit in public.
Bro, sometimes I be having full blown, depending on like what the situation is, you know what I'm saying? But like one of the last times was I was at an outlet store. I want to say it was Puma. And dude recognized me, wifey shopping, so I'm just chilling, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Start having a conversation. So like for me, I had to clarify, like we talking all time, we talking right now, we talk like what are we talking about? Because there's a time and a place for all of this stuff, right? And then those all-time lists, I'm a name Pac, Nas, Biggie, J, because that's the era I grew up in. So a lot like B, like if I ask, a 25-year-old, a 20-year-old, nigga, if you tell me that, I'm gonna look at you like that's partially cap. Like, who's your brother? Oh, that's your brother? Okay, cool, I get it then. But if you the only child, you the oldest, nah, bro, like where are you getting that from? Because I it's hard to believe that is truly your own.
We don't believe you.
You need more people. At the end of the day, man, I think all is fair in love and war, but at the same time, I know for me, from a hip hop professional perspective, I gotta ask, hey, what are we talking about? All time? We talking right now? We talking the last 5 years? What are we talking about? Because hip hop is so expansive, and again, it moves the culture, so we have to be specific about what we're talking about.
Yeah. That's why I say he just needed to add more context to that, because I think subjective and objective both are needed.
Yes.
Personally.
Yes.